All right, let's bring in Martin Plaut, who is an Africa analyst at the Institute of Commonwealth Studies in London. He joins us from the UK. Martin, good to have you on the show. As you can tell, we sort of gave an overview of what's happening in the country, but let's focus on the situation in Darfur with you. The Security Council is expected to receive the semi-annual briefing of the International Criminal Court's prosecutor on Darfur. What do you think we'll be seeing in that?
Well, it has just taken place, and I was listening to what he was saying. And of course, he was presenting the case for the court to have jurisdiction in this regard. And, he has sent a delegation to go to Khartoum, which was received by the government. And he's hoping to take the matter forward. But he has many obstacles to overcome. And, it's by no means clear that the ICC really will have traction to be able to take this case forward.
Okay, obstacles obviously when it comes to security. The former rebel leader and member of the Sovereign Council, Hadi Idris, said that the government was, at multiple levels, taking some measures to stop the violence in Darfur. What is your take on the security situation there?
Well, it is very poor. I mean, there have been clashes between different groups. There have been what is described as intercommunal clashes. In reality, they are various groups who are either backed or not backed by the center. And, the situation is by no means good. And, the real problem is that until you can have a government in Khartoum that genuinely has the support of the population, you're not really going to be able to go forward. Because, I mean, this is the military and what used to be called the Janjaweed really running the country, the most notorious of the armed factions in Sudan, and they run the country. And they were behind the coup on the 25th of October, and they are in charge. And the people both in Darfur and on the streets of Khartoum are not prepared to accept it.
What do you think the prospects are for the country to return to a full civilian rule that so many thousands of people have been protesting pretty much every weekend since the end of October?
I mean, that's absolutely right, and that is the problem. I mean, there is a complete disjuncture between the demands of the streets, so to speak. As you say, there are tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people take to the streets, and the military and those in control, both Borhan and Hemeti, who run the country, are not prepared to accede to the deal that they signed with the civilians, that they would hand over power to the civilians after a period of time. They overthrew the government and in a coup. Now, of course, their big problem is that they are running out of money. The Saudis have been backing them, but that is now, in a sense, drying up. The IMF, the World Bank are not prepared to be involved. Others are also withdrawn support. So, in a sense, it's the economic difficulties plus the street on the one side and the military on the other.
One of General Al-Burhan's top aides has actually touched upon that, saying that, the West, you got to sort of send us money our way, or else we'll start sending refugees all over the place. I mean, this is sort of turning into blackmail, perhaps, then.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, that is, in a sense, the implicit threat that is used very often by people in Africa who want to continue running things the way they have for some time, shall we say. And of course, what they rely on is the example of what happened when the Syrians, just opened their borders, and you got, what was it, 1 million Syrians that the Germans took in. And I mean, it was a huge shock to the system. And of course, ever since then, there have been essentially a virtual wall has been built along the Mediterranean to prevent exactly that happening. And people remain in places like Libya, where they just cannot get any further, can't get across the Mediterranean, and they are paying the price for the intransigence.
Martin, I finally want to ask you about the prospect for Omar al-Bashir's extradition. I mean, he's in a prison in Khartoum right now, but there's a case at the ICC. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he will remain in Sudan. I think it's highly unlikely that he will be extradited. He may be in the end as a way of a quid pro quo, so some kind of deal that might be arrived at. But the people that he in a sense, that are running the show now are his people in the military, and they would of course be fearful that they would be implicated by him if he ever went on trial in The Hague. So I think from their point of view, much better to keep him in Khartoum.
All right, Martin Plaut, thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour. I do appreciate the analysis.